What up?
What up, everybody? How you guys doing out there?
We're doing great.
Us too.
We're doing great.
All right,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Hey, if you don't know Arushi Nigam, you should. Arushi, how are you?
I am good. I'm good. I'm so excited to be here and just have a really fun conversation. I hope you like my bedroom.
I love it.
Beautiful.
I love purple. It's fabulous, darling.
I love
It's
anybody who's got a
fabulous.
nice bottle of something at the base of their bed. So
Truth. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
I like it. So, for everybody out there, Arushi Sushi is an actress.
yes,
Okay. She has 3 credits to her name.
that's right.
And she has one in pre-production right now called Physically Therapeutic.
Oh, cool.
So are you allowed to talk about Physically Therapeutic?
Yes, I am. So that's going to be a little short. That's going to be shooting, I think, sometime in July or August, but the pandemic has like thrown everything out of proportion. So, but yeah, so basically I will be working with one of a patient, this old white woman who's very, very racist, while I'm an Indian woman. As a physical therapist. So it's this little comedy, and especially I think it's so relevant right now with kind of things that are going on in the world and being more aware of being more correct and being more like identifying those racist beliefs we have and those biases. So that's kind of what that small short film is going to be about, just kind of 2 cultures clashing, a little bit of comedy, and then just coming, to an acceptance that we should all be more open and aware of who we're talking to and kind of the climate we're living in. So very, very relevant for what's going on right now.
Okay, kind of interesting. That works.
So is this somebody you've worked with in the past?
Yeah. So the people I'll be working with are from like this acting class I was part of a while ago, and so we kind of got together and we're like, oh, like why don't we put together another short film? And so that kind of just gave birth to this idea.
Cool. Do you want to talk about the acting class and who the acting class was with?
How about you talk about the acting class? That would be great.
I have an idea. Let's talk about that acting class. Okay?
Do you want to know? We want to know about it.
Great idea. Oh no, that's really sweet. Yeah. So I work with my acting coach who I've been with for about a year now, even through the pandemic, doing like Zoom classes, which has been really interesting. But she works with Rami Malek, and she has like clients on Handmaid's Tale, Big Little Lies, like some pretty big, like well-known HBO shows. So I was really honored to get to work with her because she is selective with who she works with. So the fact that, she wanted to work with me and has been working with me so long has been super exciting. And it's just this wonderful environment where, we all just have this freedom to be really expressive, and it's a completely judgment-free zone. I mean, I've been in places where like they say it's a judgment-free zone, but it's not really a judgment-free zone. But with the way she works and like the creativity she like allows us to express, and I mean, she often encourages us, like there are no rules with anything, and you can be this is more of a space where like you don't have to tiptoe, you can just like stomp your feet and be whoever you want. So that's just been really exciting, and it's been exciting to be a part of it through the pandemic, just because especially in the beginning when we couldn't like see people in person, but just having that on Zoom and having that kind of platform to just be creative and play and still dive into those like imaginary worlds, which for me is like such an important part of who I am, because even when I was younger, I would like fall in love with like fantasy and fiction books, and I would like imagine myself as a character and like flying on a dragon or living in a castle or all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where it stemmed from. But yeah, so like she allows us to be like that creative and go back to that like child's play in class. So that's kind of what it's about, and I've met some amazing people through it too.
And you actually talked about you talked about your childhood, and so most people like, I want to grow up and be a fireman or an astronaut or an actress and stuff, and we get our inspiration, we get to become an adult, and it doesn't happen. So you had that inspiration being an actress all your life, or was there other aspirations, or maybe your parents had another idea for you, right? That always works, right? But what when you were a child, what was your inspiration of being an actress, or what did you love that kept you going?
That's so interesting you ask that, because when I was little, every time you would ask me like, what do you want to be when you grow up? My answer would literally change like every 5 seconds.
Right.
And I think it's because the more I started falling in love with those books and like film and television, like I wanted to be all of those things. Like, wouldn't it be so cool to be a firefighter? It would be so cool to be a dragon slayer. It would be so cool to live in outer space. And so what I realized is that, acting was that passion that I could be all of those things. And I could experience what it would be like to live in outer space. I could experience what it would be like to, have a dragon as a pet and all of those kinds of things. So I think I had that passion for like acting and all of that from a very young age, but I didn't really identify it until I got into kind of high school. Really later on in high school, when I'd gone to a few productions and I'd kind of taken like my first ever acting class. It was like this meant for like teens and it was just supposed to be fun. I just realized like this is exactly what I want to do, especially because being an Indian American woman, I don't see a lot of myself on screen. And when I do see, people who are Indian or Indian American, it's still, even though we've advanced so much, it's still in very like stereotypical roles, like a doctor or an IT, engineer or something like that. And, we're so much more than that. And so my goal definitely, it kind of became not only like being a passion, but also kind of helping spread, diversity and just being there for someone who wasn't there for me. Like I didn't grow up watching people like me on screen. It's only within the past, honestly, few years that I've started seeing more diversity on screen. So I would like to be that for some, Indian girl or Indian kid or anyone who's ever felt like they don't feel like there are people like them out there. Like that's really what I figured out why I really wanted to act. Like that underlying passion is because I want people to know that, especially younger children who are watching, like you can be whatever you want to be. Like just because you always see yourself or someone who looks like you as a doctor or an engineer doesn't mean that that's the only possibility you have in your life, right? And a lot of that comes from TV, film, books, music. Like that's what inspires us to do whatever we want to do. And like, I mean, even people like my parents, for example, they had certain ideas of what they wanted me to start doing and become. Right. And so that also comes from because they didn't see all of the different opportunities that they could have been, right? They were also taught like, these are the opportunities you have because that was their worldview at the time. But living in like the United States, a country that's so diverse, and now coming into this age where, we're really breaking all the barriers. People are able to see that there's so many more ways you can be happy, have money, be successful, things like that. So sorry, that was kind of all over the place, but basically to bring it together.
I opened that question to be all over the place and you're answering it beautifully. So thank you. I did.
So I like it.
Yeah. And I love that because you are talking about the fact that you are breaking ground and you're allowing that anybody can be, somebody in Marvel or somebody in Star Wars and stuff, and that we're all together. Exactly. It doesn't have to be just this person, this type of person.
Exactly.
We can open up all of that too. And it's great that you're breaking ground there. I think that's fantastic. Are you, I just keep rolling. Is that okay if I keep rolling?
You do you, Boom. You do you.
I get excited when I'm talking to somebody who's really excited and really passionate about what they're doing. I understand acting because I've done a little, but like, a little community theater, I ran around in a dress for a show once. So
you like running around in dresses.
For acting. But what I want to know, because I understand the process, in theater as opposed to being in front of a camera, do you still get the butterflies going out in front of a camera that you would like going on a stage?
Oh, 100%.
That's what I wanted to know.
Oh my gosh, it is so nerve-wracking, like until you hear action or until, you hear cut, it's like, it definitely builds. And I think it's more intense actually being on camera because I've done some theater productions in college. I think it's more intense being on camera because, in theater, once you're out there, you just like start, right? So like you get a little nervous before like in the curtain or in the wing, but as soon as you're on there, like you don't have the room to have those nerves anymore. It just kind of goes away. But with camera, because first you're like, they're setting you on your mark and then they're checking lighting and they're checking sounds. It just seems like this million years before they actually call action. And it just builds as like, am I standing in the right spot? And because with film and camera work, it's so specific, like the level of sound, what angle the camera is at, what angle you're facing. Like that's why they put little pieces of tape all over the ground. Like you have to move from this spot to this spot. So there's so much more you have to think about because, the camera's angled this way, the lighting. So just that buildup of like, okay, we're almost there. And then you're not only thinking about like the life I'm living or the story I'm in, but then, okay, can I make it from spot A to spot B in time? Will I fall? Like, will I miss the mark? And then we have to start over. So it's like so much more stressful in that regard because logistically it's so much more complicated. but definitely the butterfly effect is 100% there all the time. But I feel like it's just more intense because theater, at least for me, like once I walk out of the wing, like boom, it's go time. But with camera work, it's like we'll start and like, oh wait, cut, we need to fix this. Okay, we're starting over. Now we're starting over. So it's like, oh my gosh, did I do it wrong? How am I going to keep it the same? Because especially with the editing, like they want you to do it as similarly as possible to the first take so that the editing doesn't look too different. So even keeping that in mind. So I feel like it's just more added pressure.
So when you're doing theater or in front of the camera, would you say that, hold on, I'm trying to phrase this the right way that I want it to come out. So I'm going to try this again. Hold on, stand by. Here we go. Okay. So when you're feeding off of the people in theater, are you looking at the folks that are behind the camera to be able to feed off of them as well to get reaction on am I doing the right thing? Am I doing a good job? Or is it something they're kind of like, whoa, or, you know, you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I do. I totally do. And that's a really interesting question because, so for example, in my acting class, my teacher calls that actor brain. And we never want to be an actor brain. We want to be completely in the in the story of, you know, the life I'm living. And in fact, like we're even discouraged to call it like a character or a role because these are all real people and the real stories. So rather than thinking, if you call it a character, you're basically distancing yourself from that life. Like you're judging that life, you're putting your perspective on it, when in reality, you're basically stepping into their shoes. So if normally I never have that thought of like, what is the person behind the camera or what is the director thinking? Because the point is just to be like deep, completely in it. So if I am worried about like, oh, what are they thinking? Am I doing it right? Then my teacher calls that actor brain. And we don't want to be an actor brain because then you're not fully committed to living that person's story, right? And that's basically the premise. So, and I mean, at the end of the day, like if something needs to be changed, I have the confidence in the director and the staff that they'll stop me and be like, oh no, we have to fix this, or this is not what I was looking for, etc. So, I mean, looking at it more as, which took me time because I'm like such a perfectionist. Like it took me a lot of time to kind of understand that it's okay to be messy. It's okay to, you know, have fun and that especially the acting work, especially when you're in front of camera, it's very collaborative. So just because the director stops you and be like, oh, could you do it more like this instead of like that? It doesn't mean I've done a bad job. It just means it's a different way of thinking about it, right? Like we all have a different vision because I would really struggle with that in the beginning. Like I suck. Like, why am I even here? Like I didn't even do it right the first time. So yeah.
Well, let me go deeper on that because you just hit some points that really brought some stuff for me. And you were talking about you step in the role and you're trying to become that person.
Right.
And then you say that you really do. How much of the role do you take with you emotionally?
That's a great question. So, so recently, actually, I've had to work on a story about a woman who was forced to become an escort. So the first night she was raped. So that really affected my mental health because I took a lot of that. And especially the more I've started, I mean, in the very beginning, I would say I didn't take a lot of it with me, but now the more I've been working on it with, you know, my teacher, my class, like a lot of that stays. So I remember just like recently trying to recover from that was so hard because I had to put myself in her shoes and I had to live. I mean, I'm literally like almost tearing up right now thinking about it because that's how real it has to be. That's how real that experience has to be for me as an actress to even do justice to someone who's been through something like that. So now I would say I take away pretty much, it's not even like taking away, it's like the way that, you know, my teacher and the way that like I look at it now is like all of these people are me. They're just different versions of me, right? That haven't been expressed. So, I mean, everyone has experienced sadness. Everyone has experienced happiness. Everyone has been in a situation they've been uncomfortable in. So finding that in myself, which is why like one of the fun exercises that we do sometimes in class is called Hello Myself. So when you see someone being angry or upset, you think of it as hello myself. And yeah.
So I kind of want to revert to something that maybe you've seen or not, but Man on the Moon, the movie with Jim Carrey where he portrays Andy Kaufman. They did a documentary on it, on how he was so engulfed in his role that it was almost like he was channeling Andy Kaufman himself. Would you consider with being in these roles kind of similar to that situation, or going in that route?
Well, no, can I just jump on, add to it?
Yes.
How far would you take a role? If you had a role that came in front of you that took that much of you, would you be willing to say that's too much for me? So it's kind of an add-on to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because even though like this, the being the woman, you know, who was forced to be an escort, like I thought it would be something that I would like be like, you know what, I can't, like this is a lot for me to process. But it's funny because the deeper I dive into it and the more I get kind of engulfed into it, where I feel like I'm literally her, the more fun it is. Like it's really interesting. I mean, even though I had to live through and read through these really dark things that happen, it was just even more fun to like dig deeper, like what is that? Where is that coming from? And channel that deeper and deeper, even though it did like, you know, it did bring me down. I did like go about my day like I was messed up. It made me really depressed. But that for me, in a weird way, it was a sign that I was really doing justice to this person. So if I were to do something like this on screen, I would be able to, you know that I've done justice to this person's story. So for me, like it was scary at first, but the deeper I got into it, the more I embraced it and the more fun I had, in a weird way, the more fun I had with it, because I just kind of let myself go and I allowed myself to just really be consumed by the story. And then it's funny because then I'm not Arushi anymore. I'm Rebecca, or I'm Jasmine, or I'm this woman. Like I'm not Arushi anymore.
Right.
So that kind of goes away. So yeah, but I don't think there's anything yet that I would like reject like right off the bat. In fact, now stories like those I want to dive deeper into because I think I'm an empath. So for me, like living that person's story and being empathetic feels really nice.
Nice. Now I want to talk about your revolution, the Vixen vibe.
Yeah.
Let's get into the revolution, folks. I want to understand it a little more. So bring it out to everybody.
Yeah. So how can I condense this a little bit? So basically, I grew up, actually, so at the age of 8, I was basically told by the doctor, like, okay, you're obese, you know, you need to figure out what you're going to do with yourself. So, you know, I mean, my parents were a little worried. I pretty much really didn't have an idea what that even meant at that time. But I basically went through then this phase where I was basically told, you know, you're not allowed to do a lot of the things that your friends are doing. Like I wasn't allowed to even like touch a bag of chips or like sit during the commercials on television. Like I was told, you know, like get up, be more active. And like at that time, I don't think there was definitely not an acceptance of like body image and being healthy and things like that. And I mean, constantly hearing it from people. I mean, I was bullied in school too. I'd been called like ugly to my face. I'd been talked about behind my back. You know, saying like she's big and she's fat and all of those like trigger words. And so I kind of went through my life just being like, not being really guided in any direction, but just constantly being told like, you have a problem, you're the problem, you need to fix it. But never being told, okay, how do I fix it? Or getting help to fix it. And so like throughout like elementary school, high school, I was just kind of up and down on this roller coaster of, okay, I lost some weight, then I gained it back. And then still that like vicious cycle of, you know, like nothing I'm doing is working, and then constantly hearing it from people. And I mean, it's funny because when the doctor gave me that diagnosis, my parents like put me in sports because it was the hope that if I got more active, then the weight would naturally come off. So at that time, I was like, you know, I was like, why am I in sports? Like, I don't really want to do this. But it's funny because now I'm an athlete. I'm in love with, you know, anything competitive and sports. So if I hadn't gone through that in a weird way, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like I've you know, I've been on soccer teams, I played tennis, I'm a boxer, I weightlift, I do all of these like crazy things. And so, I mean, that was something beautiful that came out of, you know, that kind of harsh moment. But sorry, I'm a talker too. So if you need to like
That's
cut
great.
me off,
Just go. Let it go. Let it go.
We are talkers, but when somebody can talk, we let them talk.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Absolutely.
let you know. If you need to cut me off, feel free to cut me off.
Not at all.
But yeah, so then throughout high school,
Hold
kind
on,
of up
time
and
out.
down.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Sorry.
No, it's
What up?
What up?
no, it's okay. So yeah, and that was really hard. Especially like going to high school dances and all of that stuff. Like just I remember just never being comfortable in my body. Like no matter what I wore, no matter what I did, I was just always like always concerned about like, okay, how does this fit here? How does this look here? Like I don't think there was ever a time when I passed by a mirror at the mall or in like a grocery store at my house where I didn't like look at myself and like start judging like, okay, fix this, fix that. And then I got to college and it was basically I was kind of at think at my heaviest at that point. And I remember, just like working out was more just like running on the treadmill. That's all I knew how to do. And then whatever sports I played, but I didn't really play sports in college after that. So I was still doing those things and I was just really, really unhappy with myself. And I would see all of these, especially other women and then the media. And it was just a nightmare that I was constantly living with. And I just started losing interest in kind of the things I liked to do. I didn't want to go out too much anymore. I stopped like wearing clothes I liked and I started wearing clothes I thought were like more appropriate for my body shape, which was just baggier clothing, nothing too like fashionable, because I honestly thought at that point, like, oh, like I don't deserve to wear this, like I don't look good enough to wear any of this stuff. And that was hard because shopping became such a it was painful to go shopping. Like I hated shopping and I hated going shopping with my friends because they would be more free about that. And I just was like, no, I can't wear that. I can't wear that. Like it was not even can't, it was more like, oh, I'm not allowed to. Like that was kind of my mental framework at the time. Like I'm not allowed to wear that. I'm not allowed to do X or do Y, etc. And so, yeah, but what was funny is that I think it's really true. Like, I think when Robin Williams passed away, like he talked about like, being such a comedian and bringing so many smiles and being, so having that front all the time, but inside being so broken. And I knew what that felt like at that point, because I guess that comes from being an actress too, but I was so good at just putting on a front. Like whenever people meet me the first time, even now, but even then, when I told my friends kind of about it, they were like, you walked in like a boss bitch. Like you were so confident, you knew what you were doing. Like never once did I ever think that you would ever be someone who's going through all of that. Like I never even suspected it. And these were like my roommates who I like lived in the same dorm with. They had no idea I was even feeling any of that, going through any of that, which was so interesting to me because I didn't know that I was so good at hiding that. And I'd become so good at that no one had any idea that anything was even wrong. And I think it's so unfortunate that all you have to do in the world is smile and everyone thinks like, oh, she's great, like, or you're okay, like your life is amazing, and like social media is a technical version of that where you just put one picture of yourself smiling and like everyone's like, oh, she's living the best life ever, like that's not fair, but you don't really know what's going on until you really talk to someone. So that was kind of like my first year or two of college. And then I was like, okay, I kind of want to figure out, okay, how can I actually, feel a little better about myself? So I went to like an on-campus nutritionist and she helped me a little bit, but she basically told me to stop eating a lot of the things I already was. And so I was like, okay, well, you're the expert, I'll listen to you. And so it worked a little bit and I saw some of the weight drop off, but then I saw like a plateau kind of. So I went back to her and she meant this probably with the best intention, but when I heard it, it just broke my heart. And she said to me, well, maybe that's all your body wants to change. Like maybe you can't change anymore after this. And I think she was trying to say like, love and accept yourself. But when I heard it, I was like, so I failed. Like, so I'm stuck and cursed.
Not right. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm cursed in this body. I've hated ever since I've grown up, who people have told me is like hideous and ugly and all of that stuff. And you're telling me now I'm literally stuck here. So that was super heartbreaking. And I went on that way a little bit. But I'm the kind of person in general, I don't like to give up on anything. Like when I set my mind to something, I will not stop until it's done. And sometimes that's not healthy, as I'll get into a little bit. But so that thought was in the back of my head. Like, even though she had told me like, maybe your body doesn't want to change and this is where it wants to be, I was like, okay, no, there has to be some way out of this. And that was kind of the mindset I had at the time, was like, I need to get rid of this horribleness that I'm living in right now, even though there was nothing wrong with me or the way I looked anyway at that time. But that was my mindset.
Right.
Like, I need to break out of this. So then, see, I told you this was long, so stop making me.
No
No,
worries.
that's
You're
okay.
good. You're great.
Well, let me just say this, because there's a lot of truth to this, and I've said it to friends, I've said it to family members, but one of my favorite things to say too, and I know it's hard for people to say, even I have trouble accepting it, is I wish you could see yourself in my eyes.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I've never heard that.
Right. And that's some of the most amazing things, is that
Yes.
sometimes you have to stop and realize you're beating yourself up. And and that's so hard for us as all people. I think everybody has that.
Yeah.
Being judged constantly, I think that's the world, and it's really hard. And like you said, it's some of the times right now, I think that's kind of where I hope the shift does go. Instead of the battles of these things, it's just, let's stop judging each other.
Truth.
Is more of what I'd like to see happen in the world.
Right.
And that's the acceptance I hope we do start to come about. Instead of the separation and segregation of it, more of the quit judging and accept each other for who we are and human beings on this wonderful, wonderful world.
Yep.
And I think you were alluding a lot to that. And it hit me when you were talking about how you feel about yourself and how you looked at yourself. And I think we all struggle with that in one form or another, some people more than the others. And so it's beautiful what you said, and where you're going with that is where you had to grow and take what you were going. So I thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners, our subscribers find you and your websites?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at Vixen Vibe Fit, and then vixenvibefit.com. And yeah, this is just something that is more, it's more new because I started helping people a little earlier on, basically once I kind of came out of my own growth, like basically going through depression, almost like suicidal thoughts, almost attempting all of that, which is, again, long story, but basically I came out of that, and then I started helping people. And then some of my friends recently encouraged me, like, you should really like put this presence out there, because I mean, I have you to help me out and remind me, to, again, stop judging myself and accept myself more. But there are people, who don't have someone like that to listen to them, or to just understand that, there are people out there who have been in their position too, and they can actually identify with them. And I think that's the most important thing, is like, when we feel alone, we really feel like there's no one out there listening to us, no one out there who's been through what we've been through. So yeah, so this was kind of very recent, but yeah, I put together a website, and then Instagram, and even like the posts I do, I see a lot of those like fitness Instagrams, and it's more like oh, like this is like, look at my body, your body can be my body, and like all of that stuff. But it's more, it has to be more than that. And in fact, I think that just perpetuates a really bad mentality, because I fell for that, where like, how come I don't look like her, or how come I don't look like, I don't have his abs or her body or whatever. And it has to be more of,
everybody's anatomy is different.
Right. Everyone is so different. I mean, there's literally
that's the beauty of it, though.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Like, I'm extra tiny, and no, I'm joking. Sorry, I always like to joke about how tiny I am. So, but no, everybody's anatomy is different. It's like Billy Bob and Jimmy Joe. One guy's 7'12", the other guy's 4'3". Everybody's different, and
right.
can have the same exact anatomy to look the same.
Could you imagine if we all looked the same? How boring that would be.
True.
I know.
And I love that we are so different, and I love that we have so many different people and so many different cultures and things that I can learn from. And you know what? I'm going to plug something that has nothing to do with us, but I'm really into masterclass right now.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm watching like these wonderful Hispanic, a Spaniard chef, and how she's putting flavors into different cultures of baking and cooking, and Japanese, and all these different things that I'm learning from so many different cultures. That makes me better, but I may not be able to do the things that they do, but I'm appreciative in what that they do.
Exactly.
It's so beautiful and wonderful to have a world of so many different things that you can accept, and that may be theirs, and I may never do it, or it may not be my thing. That's okay. I don't have to, but I sure can appreciate it. And the reason why this show was created was purely about the fact that we love so many different people. We wanted to interview people.
Everybody.
We started, it's funny, we talk about this as a local international show. We started local because we want to talk to the amazing local people around here. And then we found out, which is where you came from, is that we wanted to talk to everybody from all different ways and share with the world that the world is beautiful and how many beautiful people they are. This is the first time we've met, the first time we've talked. I love you. You're incredible.
Oh my God.
Your energy is amazing. Usually, honestly, we try to start to wrap things up at about 10 minutes and we get to about the 15 to 20. And honestly, I don't want to stop the show, although we have to.
Yes,
and
unfortunately.
So that's the amazing thing. And I want to thank you for sharing your gift of you to us.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you. And I know that can only go so far, but keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. I want to wrap this up because we have to, but I gotta say one thing.
One. That's all. Just
one more thing before we leave. You have a story, a movie, something coming out about your life. Who plays? I had to do it. Who plays?
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Who plays you in your movie?
Dang. Well, I mean, I would hope I would play myself, but
right.
Dang, I don't know. I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, there are not even that many like South Asian actresses out there who I could be like. I mean, I would love to have them play me, but hopefully someone, I don't know, who kind of looks like me, or I don't know.
That's a tough one. I got you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you really did.
Yeah.
I would just say, I just hope it's someone who, first of all, looks South Asian, and then is South Asian and can understand that part of me. But I just hope it's whoever it is, it's just someone who is willing to go there, in the fact that they're willing to understand those experiences that I went through. Like I talked earlier about identifying with that escort role, like diving deeper. Like I hope it's just someone who's willing to go there, like go the extra mile and really understand what I went through.
That's a beautiful answer, because most people would say Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie, or but I think you hit it so much stronger than most people would, because like you said, you want somebody to play you like you want to play somebody else.
Right, exactly. It's all about empathy. It's all about empathy. And I think that's what's so incredible about just being an actress and doing the work that I do, the way my teacher has taught me to do it, is that now I just have so much more empathy for people. And that's where that judgment goes away. So I actually would love for everyone to dive into, I mean, my acting class especially, but any acting class, because I think when you come in as an artist and a creative and you start removing that judgment from these characters or these stories, that's when you really build empathy. Because I've always been a very empathetic person, but I felt my empathy skyrocket the more that I do this work and I tell these stories and I live these lives on camera. So I would recommend that for everyone in general.
Hey, I don't think you mentioned who your acting coach is. Give him a plug.
Yeah, give him a plug. There you go.
Why not?
Yeah, her name is Saxon Trainer. She doesn't really have a website, but yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to get in touch with me and find out more about her, I'm more than happy to.
Find her right there in our
You got to get in touch with Miss Sushi here. Get in contact with Saxon. Does everybody got that? Okay.
Absolutely.
See, they all answered me too, by the way.
He's got a magic thing going on.
Yeah.
Anyways, Arushi, we love you. We are so glad you came on the show. And we're gonna follow up with you in the future here.
Yeah, we want you back on in like 6, 7, 8, 9 months, because we want to know what's going on.
Exactly.
I would love to. No, and thank you so much for having me. I mean, I just am so glad that you two were willing to listen and give me an opportunity to kind of share a little bit about myself. But hopefully someone listening to this can just feel like they're not alone, that there are people who understand them, and that, there are silver linings when things get tough. And I've been through that. So if my words can give a little bit of smile to someone's day, I've done my job. So.
I agree.
Thank you so much, Arushi. We love you. And thanks for coming on What Up.
Thank you, and what up, folks?
Everybody have a good one. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.